Oi, oi, holding the phone for once here. Just putting this at the start of the video because I have looked at Saturday's racing and I'm also talking about Sunday's racing. I'm going to put the videos the opposite way around. I'm going to talk about Sunday first and then I'll give you my views of some ones I'm keeping an eye on for Saturday, sorry. Because there's no bets potentially for Saturday, but there are horses to watch. And I think the videos are slightly longer than I was intending. So I'd rather just cut to the chase and talk about the one that I want to try and bet on Sunday. Whether it's going to be a bet or not, you're going to have to find out, but I don't know whether it would be. I'm trying to be generous, but this is an example of what I'll be doing for the season. Anyway, so be lucky, make sure you like and subscribe, and listen to what I've got to say. Oi, oi, so it's the Sunday cards. I'm buzzing because the one we're going to look to back is declared. It's not going to be anything, I say, too exciting for anybody out there, but I'm going to give you a little rundown of some of the races I'm looking at for Sunday, and the one that I want to have a bet on as well. I'm going to be a little bit squinty because I've kept the glasses off because of the glare, just to go through it. Right, Kempton's where I want to have the bet. It's in the listed race. We might as well just crack straight on with that. I'm going to talk about a few different things this season. Again, whether people want to hear it or they don't, then I don't really care. I'm going to be putting it out there anyway. But obviously, I've talked about the value side of things. I've talked about the greed that I'll put in there. And I've talked about prices that I'll quote that people will be like, you're a madman, you're never going to get that price. And fair enough, I might not in the majority of cases. But as touched on in the previous video, if you haven't watched it, then have a look. Talking about value and the only way to make it pay, you have to give yourself an entry point. You have to be able to price up a market. And that doesn't mean you have to get it exactly right because potentially you won't. You want to be finding mistakes and anomalies. So anyway, it's the listed hurdle race on Sunday at Kempton. It's a race that I've done all right in the past. Verdana Blue's been in there. There's been some nice horses. It's going to be a very obvious one for anyone to look at to say who they think will win the race. And I think off the back of doing that, even just looking at official ratings, it would be fairly easy for people to say, okay, this one's going to win and he's going to be short. But I'm going to quickly just go through it and I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight to how I might have priced up the race and pitched things in there. I'll speak to a few people about this anyway, but I've spoken to a couple of lads and asked for them to price it up too. And they're pretty much in agreement of where we are. So again, builds that confidence in there. But this is why it's so important to listen to other people and to have different opinions. At the end of the day, like I don't want to be cocky, but I know in myself I can price up a race. So if someone's opinion disagreed with me, it would make me go back and reevaluate what I've done for sure. And I may change things, but I would trust my judgment first over anything else. That's the point of this, isn't it? Having a bit of confidence. Anywho, so it's the listed hurdle race. We all know it's going to be so raw that I'm going to want to back. In this particular race, there's some weight that's being given away. So even if I just quickly pitch off of official ratings to build a picture of it, and then I'll talk about some course figures, I'll talk about reappearance records, I'll talk about racing post ratings, all these things to show you how I would back up the tissue prices that I would quote. So Rule's 156 rated, giving £6 to Fastbuck, For Pleasure, Sebastopol, See the Sea. See the Sea actually gets the £6, then plus gets a little bit more because she's the mare. So he's getting £13 in total. If we adjust their official ratings to how it's going to run, you'd put So Royal as 156. Fastbuck would come out at 136. For Pleasure comes out 140. Sebastopol comes out 146. See the Sea comes out 145. So off adjusted figures with the weight concessions that are in there, Sebastopol's £10 behind. See the Sea comes out £11 behind. And then it's £16 behind for Pleasure and £20 behind for Fastbuck. Now, something else that's interesting to talk about in here is obviously what the horses have been doing. So we know For Pleasure, Sebastopol and Fastbuck have been chasing and then they're going back over hurdles. We know Sebastopol had a nice easy race the other day at Chepstow. And we know that Sebastopol likes to come second a lot, but that's me just chucking in extra bit. So the other things I'll look at is course record. We know So Raw won this race last year. And when I look at course records, I'm looking for in the discipline. It's a handy if they've got like form over different obstacles just to see how they get on. Like So hasn't won over fences. He fell behind Nube Negra quite early on. And I think he was maybe third behind Bundoran. But he won over course and distance last season. So that's enough for me. For Pleasure was fourth round here. And See the Sea has been fifth round here. And they were both relatively small fields as well. The other two, Fastbuck and Sebastopol, don't have hurdle form round this track. When we look at like class of races, we know this within their ratings anyway, but So Raw's got a couple of three grade twos. Again, we're looking at hurdle form. And then For Pleasure's got one grade two. So Raw's also got a listed race to back it up, but the rest of them haven't got anything in terms of that sphere. And then if we look at the last 5 racing post ratings over hurdles, some of these will go back a while. So Fastbuck was with Willie Mullins, then went to Paul Nicholls, then went to Dan Skelton, is now with Mrs. Jane Williams. The hurdle racing post ratings are for when it was ran for Willie and it was behind Envoy and stuff like that. So Basically, So Rules, last 5 racing post ratings, 132, 158, 160, 159, 156. The 132 rating came in the International at the December meeting, where he just ran in the fight in 5th, so I would excuse that. So we've got 158, 160, 159, 156. And don't forget, off those adjusted figures, we were saying he was 156 rated. Fast box ratings were all with Willie Mullins, but even then, 130, 130, 139, 140, 130, so well behind. For Pleasure's last 5 are 128, 137, 139, 144, 119, and again, has been chasing. Sebastopol, 145, 143, 139, 138, 137. So you see he was progressive as a hurdler, then went chasing. So he could still run to those sorts of numbers, and he might potentially be capable of putting in a big number. C the C is 132, 119, 103, 129, 111. So obviously does get weight, so you can boost those up there, but is miles behind a So Raw, and I don't think the weight concession is going to help. So the long and the short of all of that is fast box, no chance. So for my tissue, I could make him any price you like. It doesn't make much difference to the percentage, but could be 50s plus, if not 100s. C, the one I've mentioned there, the mare, like the figures that she's going to be able to put up aren't going to be substantial enough to do this. Wouldn't be interested in that. I've made that maybe a 25 to 1 poke because things can happen, and she does run a lot on good, and like I say, some of the others have been chasing, so not a no-hoper, but really hasn't got much of a chance. When I talk about the fact that she's run on good ground, she has got plenty of wins in their fairly small field. Sebastopol's good form, good ground form is 4th, 1st, 4th, 6th, 2nd, 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 5 seconds. And then for Pleasure was Fell, 3rd, 3rd, 1st, 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 and a 4th. So Royal's good ground form is 2nd, and then 12th, and then 1st, 1st, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 1st, 1st. And these are all over hurdles, so we know that So Royal does like the ground anyway. Then if we talk about the other prices, so I've given you the 2 rank, the ones that have got no chance, Fastback and C the C. For Pleasure is a keen going sort, probably has excuses in some of his races because he is that keen, and as I say, is reverting back from fences, so I wouldn't say he's got no chance in the race. I just don't think he's got a very good chance. So I would probably chalk him up as a 10 to 1 poke. I'm trying to get the market to about 100%, and I'm looking for a bit of greed on So Raw. So I make him about a 10s poke. It's only a 5 runner field, and 2 of them are no hopers, isn't they? So you don't want to make him too big. Sebastopol, I would pitch in at the biggest danger to So Royal, and I do like Sebastopol. You'd have seen this before in videos. Like, I think he's a nice horse. I think with a progressive hurdlish rating, like, he's going to put a number in the 140s for definite. So we know that So Raw is probably, will put a run in the 150s. There is a £6 thing in there. So I feel like Sebastopol's maybe 4 or 5 lengths off, but he is the most likely winner should anything happen to So Royal. So within that, I'd make Sebastopol maybe like a 9 to 2 poke. Potentially could be a tiny bit bigger if we make So shorter, but I'm being greedy on So. So that's where I pitch Sebastopol. And then So Raw, I'd say, is a 2s on poke. But that point of 2s on, you know, when I talked in the coin toss video, if you did watch it, I'd say an even money poke should be 6 to 4. Because again, with that binomial calculation, as much as a coin flip we would say is 50-50, it's more like a 5 to 4 shot in genuine reality with that binomial process because of the law of large numbers, all those bits and pieces that I put in there. So you need to add a bit on there. So Raw probably could be short, could be a 3s on poke, but I'd say 1 to 2 would be the line that I would put in. And then that's how I've got myself to 100%. That book comes out at 100%. So bookies won't bet to that number, but that's where you want to price it up. So long and the short of it is, if I can get bigger than 1 to 2 on So Royal, I'm going to be going in. And when I've talked about this Kelly Criterion stake, if we'll just do hindsight. So if we manage to some sort of blip and there's an even money shout for So Royal, I will be having 33% of my bankroll on So Royal, and I'll go to shops to get that money on. If he's a 4 to 6 poke, it would be 16.5% of my bankroll going on there. And obviously there's varying numbers in between, but long and the short of it is, if he's bigger than 1 to 2, I'm going to be back in So Royal. It is a race where I suspect he'll be very short, so it probably would end up being a no bet, but I just thought I'd go through all of this to tell you that's the sort of thing I'll be doing. Like, this is how I will methodically look at a race that I want. I will then price up the field, and then if I know where my entry point is, I wait to see what the price is available, and then I'm going to go and put the hammer down. So that's that. I don't know if I think that's light, isn't it? Sorry. So that's the Sunday race, that's the bet, and I know this video is going to be longer now, isn't it? There are some other okay races at Kempton, but we won't talk about that. Over in Ireland, I think it's Cork, the Goffer makes his beginner's chase debut, so it will not be a race for me to have a bet in, but it will be a race that I would like to watch. There are some other horses that will be running at Kempton which are worth watching as well. I'm very interested to see how Joe Tizard does at the start of the season specifically. I think he's going to be targeting some races. I think he'll want to get off to an absolute flyer, and he's already started his training stats very well. There is a novice hurdle on the same card at Kempton. Rock on Cowboy for Ben Baldwin and Keelan Woods. I'm interested to watch this X-Point run as well, so we'll see how they go. But it's one of those weekends where the racing's going to start ramping up. There are going to be more opportunities, but this is a particular race where I would look at it and I saw the entries, and it's one that I'd like to get stuck into. I can't remember what year it was that Verdana Blue won this, but I had Verdana Blue back then down as a maybe 4 to 6 poke, and we got 6 to 4 about her. Maybe even made her a 2s on poke. Can't remember. I remember getting 6 to 4 about her, maybe even a tiny bit bigger. And I had a good chunk on her, and then me and my dad just went down there because it was a tenner a ticket. So I don't know if it will happen, but if so is a big price, it will never happen. He won't be bigger than odds on anyway, but if he was a price, I'd have a chunk on, and on the basis of me having a chunk on, I'd be tempted to go down there too. But anyway, that's where I am. Be lucky if you've got anything you fancy this weekend. Let me know in the comments if there is anything you fancy betting. As I say, as the season goes on, we're going to get a few of these, and we're going to get a few where I can get stuck in. I'll always tell you if I'm having a bet. So if I do this pricing up, and I've not mentioned it, but the price is available, I'll do it. In this instance, I just wanted to do my thoughts for the weekend and show you the sort of bet that I'm looking at and the sort of way that I've priced it up. So as I say, thank you for your support. Be lucky, and I will see you again next week. Right, so I just wanted to add in that I've gone onto Oddschecker to set up my alerting tool, and you'll see that they have forecasts and prices down here. So as much as I've talked about in my piece that I don't think I'll be getting the price, and even I've been exaggerative in saying the 1 to 2 chance about him, you can see that bookies have priced stuff up. Now, whether Oddschecker use an algorithm against official ratings or whatever in terms of pricing stuff up, because C to C is much bigger than a 4 to 1 poke. But you can see that it's not inconceivably possible that we might get a mistake or some chance to get stuck in. So I just thought I'd add this in between, and then we'll go on to Sunday stuff. Sorry for the mixing about, the Saturday stuff. Sorry for the mixing about of the ordering, but oh well. Content's content, right? Oi, oi, bit of a weekend preview, maybe some tips that will be coming out of this too. So I said I'm going to do this weekly. I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit tedious to begin with at the start of the season because bets may be far and few between, but I want to give you a bit of a feel for the way that I'm looking at races, talking horses, and again, I always welcome your comments below. From next week, Up in the Ante is back. So from next week, I'm going to start dissecting other people's anti-post selections and talk about some opinions on certain fields. So another anti-post insight video come out next week. But for now, let's have a look at the racing. I'm recording this one on Thursday, so we've got Saturday declarations, and then I'm going to have a look. I'm going to do one again tomorrow for Sunday because there's a definite bet on Sunday, obviously price dependent, but there's definitely one that I'm looking forward to seeing run anyway, at least one. But I'm going to quickly just run through, and I'm literally just looking at them now. I've obviously got a bit of a feel that the fact that there's Champions Day at Ascot, so I may in turn have a little look at that. I don't want to make this long just for the sake of making it long, but typically for me, and I know there's different options to have a little look at as a bet, I'd have a look at the meeting. So I know that Stratford's not going to be a very high rated horse. 0 to 120s are the biggest that are in there. There's a female professional and amateurs race to begin with where there's 0 to 100 rated horses that are... Anywho, if that's your bag, then go and have a look at it. There is a 2 mile 6 maiden hurdle, which again, I wouldn't expect to be anything fancy over at Stratford, but I do like those sort of trip horses. So I'd be interested just to see which horses are going in there, but there wouldn't be anything I'd imagine in terms of a bet at Stratford. Market Races, another track, another like sort of summerish one. There can be some nice races run at this track, but again, they're looking at 0 to 120s. There is a 0 to 140 handicap hurdle. So again, this is the sort of thing that me being a bit of a snob looking at the higher levels, I would have a little bit of a look at. I can notice that Zanzer's in here. Now, Zanzer's a horse that I've backed numerous times. There was a period, wasn't there, where he was winning pretty much every other race, and I was backing him every race we got beat. So that's not the best line of form in there. He hasn't been so good of late, has he? And that's obviously a key thing to him, but he will have been running in better class races than you would be getting at a track like Market Raising. So again, not to poo-poo the track or to be rude about it, the key thing I would be looking at first for a horse like this is just to refresh myself, but just have a look at their reappearance record. So he was sick fat 16th on his first ever run, pulled up the October the year after, he was 4th, but that was behind Eldorado Adam, but well beaten. October the time before, then again November, again behind Eldorado Adam, but well beaten, and then a reappearance ones from some like shorter breaks. They've been pulled up. Yeah, so you would imagine that the horse typically needs a run. So not to say that's a complete and utter reason to rule him out, but would put me enough off in terms of looking at this. Harbour Lake for Alan King and the late Trevor Hemmings is a horse that I am aware of. He's only had a small amount of runs, but I remember when it was running against LS Bell at Huntingdon, and it would look like a pretty good horse, to be fair. Then it ran again after, which I'm looking at here, in a handicap hurdle at Bangor. I don't know what the depth of that particular form looks like now, but I'm going to have a little bit of a peel through. and see if anything's run since, because that's the thing at the beginning of the season. Lots of these horses would have run at the end of last season, and then not much has happened since. So I wouldn't say it's terrible form, but yeah, it wouldn't particularly be one to get stuck into. And as I say, there may be some people that people have on the radar for these types of horses that they do want to get stuck into, but I'd say Harbour Lake, Zanza would be ones that I will watch that race, and they would be ones that I would be keeping an eye on. I probably wouldn't be looking for a bet in there, but that's just where I stand on there. Then I will look at Newton Abbott, because that's the only one that I haven't done. I do this from bottom up on Racing Post. If you were following along, there's another novice hurdle, but it's a short trip 1 2 mile one, so I will probably have a look at a couple of them, but it wouldn't bother me so much. And then in terms of chases, there is an intermediate chase as well in there, so I think I know who's going to run in that. I'll quickly look through. I will go to the intermediate chase. I'll quickly skim the 2 novice hurdles again for my own benefit, just to look at stuff. We've got Gin Coco running there for Harry Fry potentially. I say potentially because Harry Fry keeps putting him out. But he was favourite for a Welsh champion hurdle, and he's now just running a bog standard, I'd like to call it, novice hurdle. So that will be a race that's probably well worth watching. The second of the novice hurdles is a junior novice hurdle, so it's the 3-year-olds. We've got a couple of, I say a couple, was one interesting one, isn't there? The Johnny De La Haye Himalaya. Again, this wouldn't be a race for better, but it would definitely be a race that I'd want to have a look at, because Malaya was a filly or mare that I had from this family that was an all right runner. So interesting one, and we know that Paul Nicholls only does so much. What's also interesting with that is the horses that are running. So he's got Johnny De La Haye in the first race, Ivaldi as well. So I think I know who's going to run in this intermediate chase. I mean, I did have a look and see who was entered. Pic D'Orhy will be going in here. Now, an intermediate chase is a penalty structure system, so it's not like your handicap hurdles or your handicap chases, handicap races, but there is penalties applied. And when it's an intermediate chase, you can have horses that have never run in a chase before that might run in it, and you will get horses that have run over a chase, but they'll sort of won't be capable of running these. They'll have to go into open company after. These are always nice races to start these types of horses in, but because of those concessions, Pic D'Orhy is always 11 stone 12. It's giving £4 away to Gladiator Allen, and on ratings he's £21 better. He's given away just under a stone, £13 to Legend Ride, but he is £25 better than that horse. So again, doable. Because it's for Katie down the bottom, because it's a mare that hasn't won any of these class type races, because it is a mare, it's been running in mare's company. She's made a rating of 142, which could be inflated because it's in mare's company, in my opinion. But she's going to get a stone and £9. So she's going to get £23 from Pic D'Orhy. So Pic D'Orhy's 153 rated. If we trust his is true, it means Kisses for Katie just needs to be above 130. Officially rated 142. So this would be a race that I might start to look into a little bit. Now, I tipped up Pic D'Orhy at Aintree. He pulled up. He was clearly not himself. He jumped terribly early on as well. Whereas when he'd run at Kempton, honestly, I thought the Harry Cobden ride on him was insane. The way that he chucked him at the fence after. But I do think this Pic D'Orhy is an above average horse. Whether he's much more than 150s horse, I don't truly know. And obviously giving this weight away on the first run of the season might be tricky. So I would have possibly been torn into thinking that Pic D'Orhy might be a bit of a bet in there. The amount of weight that he's given away and the fact that he might not run up to his top number on his first run back means that I'm probably just going to have to leave this one alone. But it will definitely be a race to watch, because I want to see how he gets on, and I'll be interested to see what that Kisses for Katie does too. Not from a betting perspective for her, but I think as a yardstick perspective, you'd expect she'll go okay. But she hasn't jumped over fences yet, so it's not enough of a challenge in there. So that'd be my sort of watching breeze for Saturday. They're not going to be major, probably festival clue horses for the future, but I know I'd love Cheltenham. It's not all about Cheltenham. There are betting opportunities throughout the season, but obviously we want to see the class ones. There are more jumps racing. There is some over in Ireland as well, but I don't think the races in Ireland are that great. I will skim in them. We haven't got final declarations yet, so I will have a look at those meetings tomorrow when they come up, and then I'll record something. There is probably going to be a better Kempton. I think it'll be priced accordingly, and I will tell you about that as well. But I just wanted to record this now, so it's done, and then I'll crop these two into the same video. So now it's tomorrow, and I will see you again.